Hey guys, Mr. Rootbar here. Just before we get started, a couple of things you're going to want to note is that you'll need pencil and paper for this. If you have the paper packet, we're going to be on page 149, 152. If you don't have the paper packet, just a blank piece of paper, scrap paper will work. I'm going to pause you real quick, give you a chance to make sure you've got everything you need. Also, before we start, if you would go through and do the example that's on the screen right now, that'll help save some time. This is a refresher lesson. We've done this already in third grade, so hopefully this is not something that is too big of a struggle as we get going. Let's get into it. Again, we are working on the skill of breaking apart bigger multiplication or bigger factors that we struggle with. As we go through this, some of you might say, this is easy. I know how to do 6 times 6. Wonderful. The skill of how to break apart a bigger factor is still what we're looking at here. Question number 1, and again, if you got the actual pages from your workbook or you have your math book because you picked up your stuff, page 149 is where we're at. Let's get on it, and you might have already done it. If you just have a blank piece of paper, the way we're going to teach it, you'll be fine too. Question number 1, there are 6 bowls of apples. There are 6 apples in each bowl. Show how to break apart the number 6 to make the problem easier to solve. So they've already got the picture. We see 6 groups of 6, 6 times 6. What they want us to do is split it up into 2 easier groups and then figure out how much we have. I'm going to model that first, and then I'm going to pause the video and ask you to do it differently than I do. So don't copy me yet. So 6 times 6, I'm going to try and do something that maybe other kids won't do, so it allows us to give them a chance to do something different. So I'm going to take 3 groups of 6 in that group, and I'm going to have 3 groups of 6 in this group. So what we just did is we took a problem that might be hard for us, and we're splitting up into 2 problems that are hopefully easier for us. So in my group on the left, I have 3 times 6. And in the group on my right, I have 3 times 6. We've taught your kids all year long to do skip counting. On this one, they can skip count by 2s, 3s, or 6s, or really would work. And I encourage them to label those inside their group. So again, if we were going this way, we'd have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. To come up with 18. And I apologize if my handwriting is sloppy. I'm using a mouse. And hopefully, if 3 times 6 over here is 18, hopefully over here it's still 18. So now what we've done is we found out how much we have in the group on the left and how much we have in the group on the right. The last step is to figure out how much we have together by adding our 2 products. So we have 18 plus 18. And 8 plus 8, shout it at home. Yep, 16. Regroup that new 10, and 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 3, for a total of 36. In the label, what are we talking about? Would be apples. 36 apples. And again, if that's a struggle, if I went too fast, you have the ability to rewind it and watch it again. All right, moving to the next question. Mrs. Harris has 3 tables in her art class. She seats 6 students at each table. How many students does Mrs. Harris have in her art class? Show how you can break apart one factor to make the problem easier to solve. Show your work. Another thing that we've been working on in third grade is word problem strategies. And the strategies we've taught is to underline the question once they've read it. So the question is, how many students does Mrs. Harris have in her art class? So if you're at home, hopefully you're underlining this if you have your book. Next is to circle or box in the important information. We have that there's 3 tables, and there are 6 seats, or sorry, she seats 6 students at each table. So 3 tables, 6 students at each table. So now we're going to want to draw an array. So I'm going to pause the video so you can do that, and I'll get it done and save us some time. So you can draw a 3 by 6 array or a 6 by 3 array. Either of those will work. And again, arrays have those rows and columns. And try and make it as nice and neat as you can. So I'm going to pause the video and give you a chance to draw that array. All right, so you can see I have my array drawn up. I have 3 rows with 6 columns. And that is what you should have done. Hopefully yours looks something like this, and it might be flip-flop. It might be the opposite, which is still okay. So the next step is to break this apart into an easier equation. And I think third graders typically love to work with fives. It just makes life a lot easier. So let me change my color here. All right, so if I were to break these into groups of five, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I want to get all those in there. So I have one group there, and I have my second group here. So now we need to identify what multiplication equation is being shown in each of these. So on the left-hand side, we have a 3, sorry, it's a little bit crammed in there, 3 by 5. And if you're at home, skip count by 5 3 times. And hopefully you came up with 15. And our second one, we have a 1 by 3, or 1 times 3. One group of 3 is 3. So we've got 15 on the left, 3 on the right. Now we need to figure out how much we have total. So again, what we do is we have 15 plus 3. 5 plus 3 is 8. 1 plus nothing is 1. So we have a total of 18. Now here's where you go back to the part where we've underlined the question. How many students does Mrs. Harris have in her art class? And so the label is 18 students. Or if you said students in her art class, that would be fine too. All right, going to go ahead and move on to the next question. Question number 3. We're going to kind of move fast through this one. So if you have questions, email Mr. Rutenbar, a.rutenbar@sturgisps.org, and I'll gladly help you, or contact your teacher. Julio finds 8 times 6 by breaking apart the 6 into 4 plus 2. Which expression correctly shows the next step in defining the product? Okay, so I'm going to have you pause the video here. I want you to go through each one and figure out which one do you think shows 8 times 6, where they broke up the 6 into 4 and 2. Go ahead and click pause now. All right, again, for time in this video, I'm just going to explain why letter D is the correct answer. So if you chose letter D, good for you. If you didn't, hopefully my explanation at least helps you understand where they went wrong with that. So letter D is correct because they keep the factor 8 the same in both of the two equations, because they knew that they're splitting up that 6 into 2 easier problems. So when they take that 6 and they split up, they have a 4 and a 2. So as you can see, we have the 4 here, we have the 2 here, and the other factor is the 8. So we have the 8 that stays the same in both. So the correct answer is letter D. Just going to talk about the second part. It says Don chose letter A as the correct answer. How did he get that answer? Well, what he did is he did break up, letter A breaks up the 6 into 4 and 2, but the mistake was that the other factor, the 8, kind of gets left out. He kept the 6. So instead of splitting up the 6, which he did, he also included the 6 again. On to question number 4. Rebecca finds 8 times 4 by breaking it apart as shown below. 8 times 2 plus 8 times blank. What number belongs in the blank? 1, 2, 3, or 4? So what we see is that she has 8 and 4. She keeps the 8. The 8 factor stays the same. So that means that she's going to split up the 4. And if you think back to what we've done previously, we took 6 and we maybe made it 5 and 1 or 4 and 2. So think, she has 4, so it is 2 and blank. So 2 plus what equals 4? And if you're telling me that the correct answer is letter B, 2, then you are correct, because 8 times 2 plus 8 times 2 is the same as 8 times 4. All right. Moving down to question number 5. Decide if each equation is true. Choose yes or no for each equation. So this is I'm going to pause the video in a second and give you some time to work. Again, you pause it. When you're done with all of these questions right here, I'll put a box around them real quick so you don't get confused with what you need to do. When you're done with all of those, go ahead and hit play on the video. You need to decide, does 8 times 3 equal 22? If it does, circle yes. If it does not, circle no. If you need to draw an array, draw a model, do it. Grab coins, build an equation, whatever you need to do. Okay, go ahead and hit pause now. When you're done with all those, go ahead and hit play. So hopefully you've gotten your correction or your answers filled out for this before you hit play. On the screen, you can see the answers for all of them. For the ones that hit no or were no, I put the equation down that was correct. So hopefully you can double check with that. But again, no, yes, yes, no, yes is the correct order if you got things all correct. And if you made a mistake, go back and double check. Did you put one too many in your drawing? Did you mess up on your skip counting? Just try and figure out what you did so you can learn from your mistake. 6 wants us to figure out which expressions, meaning there's more than one correct answer, can be used to find 7 times 4. So right away, first thing you should try and do is figure out what 7 times 4 is. Once you figure that out, try and go through each and every expression and find out, does that equal the same amount as 7 times 4? I'm going to pause the video here, give you a chance to work through all of them. Again, we're looking for expressions, so there's more than one correct answer. So pause your video and work through each of them and see if they are equivalent to 7 times 4. All right, so if you worked through each expression, hopefully you found the same answers that I came up with. The correct answer should be letter A, D, and E because they all equal 28, while B and C did not equal 28. Again, if you have confusions on that or need help, simply ask your teacher. We can go through this again. Because of time on the video, I've got to stop doing my teaching and give you your part. Not much left over for you. Your job is to finish page 152. That's questions 7 and 8. After you've done questions 7 and 8, it's recommended that you do extra math. Parents, if you haven't been doing extra math, do that from home. If you need help with that, get a hold of your teacher and go ahead and check out Prodigy. We'll still keep Prodigy open for you guys. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, shoot me an email, arutenbar@sturgisps.org, and I will see you guys on Thursday. Thanks.